Warren. Good morning. How's everybody doing? It's a little quiet in here, huh? Well, we really appreciate you coming into the store. The store's been open now since late November. We opened a week before Black Friday. And boy, it was trial by fire and baptism by fire in the early going. It was extremely busy during the holiday season. And but this today is a perfect example of the types of uses that we think that this space is really meant for. And my role is community relations here. Each of our stores, we have 7 now around the country, has a community relations person attached to it. Being the flagship store, though, here in Bellevue, we feel it's really important to not only engage with just our normal customers, but then also the other types of nonprofits and other user group activities and just youth group activities, too, that are going on in this area that our employees are a part of, and that we've just generally, this environment, I'd say, and this geography is really conducive to this type of thing. So a couple examples of other things that are happening in this space. Girl Scouts are earning their technology badges. They'll be in here later this afternoon, so that's always pretty cool. Big Brothers Big Sisters, they have group kind of interview sessions that they're doing. Bellevue College will be entering a nonprofit community partnership with them next month. A couple of different speaker series for young professionals. Events like this. The Geek Girls had a dinner here the other night too, and maybe some of you knew about that. But so what I'll say, I guess, in closing before handing it back to Warren and thanking you all for coming here this morning is, if you have other ideas for spaces or ideas that you have that you could engage and use the Microsoft Store to help attract an audience or generally just play with the technology, we're more than happy to make that happen. So please just talk to me afterward. And Paulo's back there, and we have a friends and family discount card for everyone who came here today. Thank you is a little thank you. Put it in your back pockets, 10% off of a purchase. Next time you come into the store, you could even use it today. We'll have some salespeople here too. But and then lastly, when you're done, and I know Saul has some really cool content to go through, but we have some sales staff, they're kind of wandering in now. They're set up. They're more than happy to give you a tour of the store, show you some of the bells and whistles. We can demo our Windows 7 phones right from the display wall, which is a pretty cool thing. So I know that the Office team will be excited for us to show you what Office looks like on Win 7 phone, and to do it on our demo display wall will be pretty compelling. So if you're interested in that, stick around. And with that, I'll give it back to Warren. And thanks again for coming in.
Thanks, Chad. So once again, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Chad Mack from the Microsoft Store Community Development. Also, Erica Wadley, who's from, it's all Microsoft Day for us, so thanks very much, Microsoft. Erica's from Microsoft Services Broadcast Network sponsorship. It was a lot of helps us with a lot of the video equipment each month. Also, today, the Microsoft Office social team, Kelby Johnson and Stephen Berg, have sponsored this event. So I know you guys are here. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. And a couple of logistical things for those of you who are following at home in your pajamas on the stream. So a couple of Twitter handles, Microsoft Store, all spelled out one word. You can catch their tweets. Saul Colt, all one word as well, and then also the hashtag is, as always, SMBSeattle, and as always, I forget it. But anyhow, so let me introduce our speaker, Saul Colt, who, I've had the, I guess the pleasure of knowing and learning from over, the last, I guess, several years. And, seeing a lot of blog posts and videos about. Oh, sorry, good. Yeah. Whoa. So anyway, seeing a lot of really interesting blog posts about this creative guy from Canada, from Toronto, that just was a really whiz, fantastic at word of mouth. And saw some videos a few years ago, and just reached out to him. And not only is Saul, as he describes himself, the smartest man in the world, but he's also one of the most creative, and magical. Saul currently works with FreshBooks as the head of magic, which is a pretty cool, interesting title. He does quite a lot with them in community evangelism, using a lot of word-of-mouth tactics, both offline and online, that he's going to share with us. As you'll see from his pitch and his sense of style, he's a very creative guy, and makes some activities that sometimes we might find mundane, a lot of fun and very magical. So with that, you didn't come to see me, so here's Saul Colt. Thanks, Saul.
Hey, everybody. I don't know if I'm even wearing this thing correctly, but bear with me. It didn't fit on the top of my head, so I've got it around my neck. Okay. Okay, cool. So, like Warren said, my name is Saul Colt. I'm here to talk to you guys about how to create online word of mouth and offline word of mouth that will, in turn, create online word of mouth. Okay, so I do a lot of speaking all over the place, and I used to have these really great, about me slides, and a fancy, book publisher, bestseller guy. He says you have to remove the first 2 slides of your presentation because nobody really cares. So what I've done here. I'm going to see if I can do this over here. So I removed the first 2 slides, but then I realized that it's going to make the 3rd slide a lot harder to understand. So as you can see, I really do love women, and every now and then, when the sun and the moon and the stars are aligned, they love me back. And this is kind of the basis of this talk, because it's really about how to be so interesting and create all these experiences that people are going to want to share. So how do you create online word of mouth, offline word of mouth, with or without a budget? It's really the same thing. So I'm going to go in all sorts of directions here, so you guys are going to have to bear with me. This is just sort of my style, so it's going to be weird. But does anyone know who Dick Shawn is? Okay, so Dick Shawn, he played Hitler in the original Producers, the 1960s Mel Brooks. He was also in It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. Brilliant guy. So besides being like a really brilliant comedian and actor and all sorts of things, one of the things that Dick Shawn is famous for is he was a Broadway actor, and he actually died on stage in the middle of a performance. And the thing that was sort of interesting about it is he died exactly where his character was supposed to die. So nobody knew he actually died. He had a heart attack, the same spot in the play where his character dies, so all the crew and the sound and the lighting people, nobody made a big deal of it. They just let him lie on stage. You got a standing ovation for dying. My lesson from Dick Shawn is, and I don't know if you guys can tell, I've got like a bit of a cold. I'm feeling a little under the weather. I'm going to show you my last slide first, just in case I die somewhere in the middle of this presentation. So at least you guys leave learning the one thing that I really want to leave. And that's how you get on a digital board in Times Square. Thank you. So a simple search of the definition of word of mouth in Wikipedia will tell you that word of mouth was the 2nd album by Jaco Pastorius while he was with the band Weather Report. Now, I don't really agree with that definition. It's not super clear. But I prefer to say word of mouth is doing something so fascinatingly interesting that people have no choice but to tell someone else and to share their experience and share their ideas. And that's sort of been the constant in my career. I just really try to create experiences. So I know I haven't really told you anything yet, and I'm already apologizing. But last night I barely slept. I was in bed. I was exhausted, and I was watching Toddlers and Tiaras. Have you guys ever watched Toddlers and Tiaras? So I had this weird moment where I didn't want the last thing I thought of before I went to sleep to be 6-year-old girls dressed up as beauty pageant things, because I was afraid of what I was going to dream. and I couldn't sleep. So you guys may get the greatest presentation ever, because I may just have a nervous breakdown and leave, or what, I'm not sure. But if none of this makes sense now, I guarantee you tonight, when you're in bed, if I'm the last thing you think of, all of this, you'll just be like, wow, I get it now. So just keep that in mind. So if real word of mouth is about creating experiences, those experiences have to be really creative. So quick points on creativity, and I'm just going to qualify everything I say today are just my own wacky beliefs. Please take whatever I say with a grain of salt. This is not the gospel. You guys should, hopefully I just inspire you and I get you thinking in a different way. So don't take any of this as absolute fact. And you very rarely hear speakers say that. But like, I don't have a book to sell you. I don't have like a $1,400 like package or product. So this is just, take it for what it's worth. I find it very hard for people to be creative by a committee. I think you absolutely need like small groups to be creative. You get 14 people, you're absolutely never going to come up with something interesting. Creativity comes from thinking uniquely and being fearless. Sarah, my lovely colleague here, she hears me say this all the time. 3 or 4 times a year, I have an idea that I absolutely believe is worth being fired over, and you almost have to have those ideas. They don't come often, like 3 times a year isn't like that much, but you have to be able to be fearless with your ideas and be able to actually sort of, own them. Ways to create experiences that, if you're not on antidepressants, in my apology slide, there was a little picture of a Prozac pill. I find it very hard to actually explain to people what I do. So my little catch-all is I just say, well, when I need to be creative, I stop taking my antidepressants and I let the voices tell me cool things. So, but if you're not on antidepressants, here are some things to actually create interesting experiences for people. So look for obvious connections, do research, play on emotions, force people to ask questions, add conflict, make people feel special, and be interesting yourself. So don't worry about writing all these down now, because I'm actually going to go through each one individually. Look for connections and do research. So there's plenty of ways. Like one of the things whenever I start with an idea, I just look at anything, and I just go anywhere. So these are some examples. So I always tell people, go to Wikipedia, go to Google, LinkedIn, blogs, Twitter search. Whatever you're trying to come up with and be creative, just go everywhere and absorb as much as you can. So, but the reason I tell people to look for connections is if you see that little red pouch. So a couple years ago, FreshBooks, we did this thing for South by Southwest where we created hangover kits. So for you guys who don't know what FreshBooks is, we're an online invoicing service. Invoicing probably isn't the sexiest thing in the world, but some of the things Sarah and I do, our job is to really make FreshBooks interesting and connect with people on a different level. So, because you can only talk about invoicing for so long before people's eyes roll in the back of your head. So when I talk about connections, so we made hangover kits for South by Southwest, because for you, those of you who have never been to South by Southwest, it's very much kind of like work during the day, party very hard at night, and people are up very late. So we made these little kits. Inside there was like Band-Aids and aspirin and condom and all sorts of little things. And we actually hung one of these kits on every doorknob of 3 of the main hotels at the time. So it was kind of a cool thing. People remember them. Every now and then somebody will show me that they still use it as a wallet. So while it doesn't connect with invoicing per se, it does have our logo and it has an offer on it and a discount code. It certainly did connect with the people and it did connect with the event. And that's one of the things I think people sometimes forget. You don't always have to connect with your product. You really have to connect with your customers, and you have to connect with whatever the environment is. So another example, if you see the top corner picture, there's 2 blank canvases. A lot of the people who use FreshBooks are creative professionals, so artists, graphic designers, web developers, web designers, a lot of freelancers, people who bill for time. We got a booth. We very rarely get trade show booths, but we tried one out at the How Design Conference, which is one of the largest graphic design conferences in North America. And we don't own a trade show booth, and because I would never actually endorse us getting a very boring sort of trade show booth, the idea we came up with was we got 2 blank canvases, and we got an artist, And for the 3 days of the conference, he drew a mural. So we had a living, breathing trade show booth that, every half an hour you could come back, you see something different. So if you see the picture there, that was the end of day one. And this is what it looked like at the end of the conference. So while, again, it doesn't really connect with invoicing, it connected to the conference, it connected to the people, and that's how we got people talking about FreshBooks and invoicing. It sort of did connect, because even though this side's really beautiful, this side was all different fonts of the word invoice. And it was very cool, and it's sort of this like before FreshBooks come over and things are beautiful. So it's how you think about things. You don't always have to talk about yourself. You don't always have to, push your own things to really connect with people, because people are going to either love or not love your product. One of the things I always talk about FreshBooks is so few people can actually use FreshBooks. Not a lot of people need to send invoices, but everybody in this room can talk about FreshBooks. Everyone can tell somebody a cool experience they had or something they saw. And that's one of the things I think is sort of lost on word of mouth. It's, you have to find your customers. You have to really focus on who you want to do, but don't ignore anybody. Anybody can find customers for you. Everyone else knows people who knows people, and it's like that shampoo commercial. They told 2 friends and 2 friends and 2 friends and so on. So playing on emotions. So I always talk about surprise and delights and make it as personal as possible. So if you guys see this big ostrich, that's actually a dude on stilts in a thing. So I just like doing things that make people scratch their heads and wonder what's going on. So when I go networking at large events, I like to always network in twos, because I think it's easier. You never want to be the creepy guy standing on the circle and things like that, because I get called creepy for way other reasons. So I like to network with magicians, mimes, and men in stilts, because you'd be amazed how easy it is to talk to a group of people when you have an ostrich with you. Other ideas, so we did this, again, a lot of these examples are around South by Southwest, because that's sort of where I tend to do some of the shinier things, but I'll talk about other things as well. So if you guys see this Gary Vaynerchuk baseball card, 2 years ago, or last year, I can't remember. Anyways, a couple years ago at South by Southwest, we made Internet All-Star baseball cards. Made a set of 12 cards, and we featured FreshBooks customers, people who actually use the service. So Gary Vaynerchuk obviously is shiny, and Chris Brogan was a card. He was shiny. But out of the 12 cards, there was probably only 3 people you guys would actually recognize, and all the rest were just quote-unquote ordinary people that we actually like and think are really cool. So if you look at the card, it says Internet All-Star Baseball Cards. It says FreshBooks on the front. On the back, had all the contact information for the person, had all their vital stats, why you'd want to talk to them. The only branding on this from FreshBooks at all was our logo on the front. One of the things we do is we make things as personal as possible. These actually were available inside the goodie bag at South by Southwest, and we had piles and piles of other cards that we were just handing out, and you got packs of 3. And the hope was that everybody would be trading these cards, and it'd be like a phenomenon. So it didn't take off as ideally as it could, but it was, people did like them. And there's a bunch of different photos on Twitter of people who got or on Flickr, people who got the whole set. But the interesting thing was, this was our way of supporting the people that support us. And of course, we used like some shiny people just sort of like to get it to push. But 10 out of the 12 cards, nobody knew who these people were. And it was just our way of really saying thank you and putting something out that was interesting and different to support our customers. And that's sort of like the surprise and delight, or make it as personal as possible. Because I guarantee you, when you make it personal, you do something to support your customers, they're going to spread the message for you. They're going to talk about it as eagerly as you talk about it. So if you guys can see this picture, that's C.C. Chapman of the internet. So we did a contest of FreshBooks. And again, you guys, if anyone here works at Microsoft, I completely recognize you guys could never do this because you guys have lawyers and stuff like that. But the wonderful thing about being a sort of startup is we don't have lawyers. Well, we do, but I don't talk to them. We did a contest. I'm stuck here. Did a contest on Twitter where we wanted people to name the best song ever written. And First prize was like $1 million and a trip around the world and all these really wonderful prizes. Second prize was a box of cereal. So thankfully, nobody got the first prize, because again, no lawyers. First prize, the answer was, of course, this is a pretty smart room. I can tell you guys know the best song ever written was Hey by the Pixies. Nobody got that. But we got flooded with entries to this contest, everything from Michael Jackson's Thriller to anything you could imagine. We awarded, it was supposed to be like 2 prizes or 2 winners. Because it was really popular, we actually gave out 100 boxes of cereal. And people really dug it. And one of the things that we do, I think we do very well, that other people don't, and this is one of the things I really want all you guys to kind of think of, is you come up with a good idea, and as soon as you think your idea is good enough that people will actually like really respond to it, take it one step further, because it's always that one step further that people remember. So we promised a box of cereal, and we shipped just a box of cereal to people. But what we also did, and this was like a pretty big initiative for us. We had some budget. We're not just a giant company, but we do things. I actually opened every single box of cereal, and inside I put my business card and I put a $25 iTunes gift card, and I glued it back shut. So it was all people were expecting was a box of cereal, and when they got it, they actually got something more. And there was that something more that got people to start the conversation and to really spread this message. And that was a really successful contest for us. We got more Twitter action than we've ever seen. But people still come up to me. This is probably, I have one other story that people always come up to me, and I'll get to that later, so I don't want to spoil it yet. But this is one of the most talked about things we had. People were really excited because they couldn't grasp the concept that a company would actually send them a box of cereal. It didn't make sense to some people. So if there's anything I've learned by doing this in the last few years, is you do not have to give out prizes that actually have huge monetary value. People love just the cool stuff, and anything you can do around that is way better. I'm warning you guys right now. I think I might have this slide twice, so if it does, just ignore it. But force people to ask questions. This is sort of the thing that I do, I think, pretty well, is I always want people guessing and want to know what's going on. So when you're coming up with ideas, you want people to say, what are you up to? Why are you doing this? Why aren't you trying to sell me something? Or aren't you trying to sell me water dispensers? And the example I give, so if you guys see a hotel room key, you guys all saw the slide about how much I love women. Remember that? It wasn't that long ago. I don't recommend this to anyone in the room, but for some reason I have a personality flaw that I put myself into possibly dangerous situations. But I travel a lot. And whenever I travel, the woman or man behind the desk when I check in my hotel, they always ask me how many hotel keys you want. So for some reason, I was tired, kind of this morning, so I'm probably going to say something I'll regret later. But I told her I wanted 40 hotel keys. and after a little negotiation, she gave me 20. And all day at this networking event I went to that day, I was giving out my hotel room key as my business card. And sure, there was a bit of an awkward moment, but I guarantee you everyone who got my hotel room key remembered me. I didn't sleep that night either because I had a chair sort of keeping the door closed. But it's all about being remembered and doing things to get people to spread stories. So if you see this Macworld badge and it says sponsor, I was not a sponsor of that event. That is a 39-cent sponsor badge that I bought at a craft store. And it is amazing. I pretty much had all access. Anywhere I wanted to go, I was backstage. I was in the speaker's lounge. I was all over the place. And when people think you sponsor stuff, they treat you way better. So anything you can do to sort of stand out from the crowd. So the other 2 pictures, you see that stock photography of a picnic. One of the things I do recently, one of the things we do, and Sarah and I are here, we did this last night, and we're doing this tomorrow in Portland, is anytime we travel, we travel because we have meetings and we want to do like interesting things, but anytime we're in a city, we actually try to get as many of our customers out and take them out for dinner, because it's just, like, one, it's really fun, and two, we want to sort of create our own little network event, and it's just cool to know who our customers are and give them access to us and things like that. So I don't know, like not too long ago in New York City, I was going to do a picnic. It was summertime. And we were going to do a picnic in Bryant Park with our New York customers. And it just happened to rain that day. So I'm perhaps foolish or dumb, or I don't know, but I don't really let anything stop me, so rain wasn't going to stop us. We just moved our picnic into Grand Central Station, and we actually sat on the floor near the clock, and we had a little picnic in Grand Central, and security was coming over. No one could really understand, but like, we had so many people come over and ask us what's going on and this and that, and we had the greatest time. So anything you can do that, ask people, why are you doing this, and things like that, like, that's what you should really kind of sort of try to do your thoughts around. So adding conflict is a great way to get people talking. I personally don't do this. Kidnapping for fun and profit is a great way, but I've never done it personally. But adding conflict isn't really part of my toolbox, but it is certainly part of creating word of mouth. So making people feel special. This is sort of the most fun thing that I do. So with that, I'm going to speed through this because I don't know, there's more interesting stuff after, but spend time with your community, especially if they're female. I think we've already established that. Go beyond expectations and make girlfriends. The one thing I do want to explain to people is, if you see these bottles of mustard, this is another example of taking the idea and going further. So Andy Cernovitz, who's the author of the book Word of Mouth Marketing, he was somebody I admire, and I still do, and he was somebody I really wanted to meet and sort of have a conversation with. So I saw on Twitter that he loves this certain brand of mustard. He was just gushing about this brand of mustard. So I went out and I bought 2 bottles of mustard, and I mailed them to him with like a t-shirt, business card, the whole deal. And I guarantee you that probably would have been enough to make like a lifelong friend. But taking it one step further, and this is what I really want you guys to always take one step further. If you see, I took a black Sharpie and I wrote all over the bottles, like, oopsie, what'd I do here? Okay, so I wrote all over the bottles my contact information, a little note to him, everything, because the idea was I wanted every time he reached into his fridge to remember exactly who sent him this mustard. And that's why I sent him 2. So covered all over it is like, hey, buddy, enjoy your mustard. Saul at freshbooks.com. Hey, hope this spreads really easily. Like, just all sorts of ridiculous stuff. But the idea is always, like, take stuff a little further, because that's really sort of where it goes. So be interesting yourself. This sort of self-explanatory. But when you are interesting yourself, there is a waterfall effect. I'm standing here. I assume you guys are maybe half enjoying this. I guarantee you, at the very least, by the end of the day, you're going to check out something. You'll check out FreshBooks. You'll think, if any of you, male or female, received a hotel room key from me, I guarantee you'd at least check out who this crazy person was. When you're interested in yourself, people take notice, and they actually make an effort to find out what you're up to. So living the life, so that's sort of like a general thing. I'm going to sort of drill down a little bit more, because I think there's something to this. So one of the best ways to create word of mouth without a budget is live the life of your customers. Anytime you can support a cause that people are interested in, be an advocate for their voice, assuming you guys have a louder voice than some of your customers. So one of the things that FreshBooks really stands behind, as well as another company called Upstack, is that we're really trying to champion the fight for no spec work. Most of our customers, or a big chunk of our customers, are freelance, graphic designers, artists, web developers, web designers, and in that space they get asked a lot of times to work for free, and we don't want that. Obviously, we want everyone who uses FreshBooks, we want everybody to be prosperous and do well. So we have a bigger voice than perhaps a bunch of freelancers. So anytime you can actually speak for your customers, that's a great way to actually get attention and have people really care about what you're doing, and also feel like they're part of a team. And if that ain't your thing, you can always just do more interesting things. This was the point where I sort of merged a couple different presentations together, so this is where it may get rocky, but bear with me. Doing interesting things with barter. And the next is all kind of like no budget sort of thing. A little known fact about me is, in my previous career, I was a person that launched Zipcar in Canada. So when Zipcar first started in Canada, there was very little budget to do anything that interesting. This is a long time ago, by the way. This isn't recent. But wanted to throw a Christmas party for our staff, and we didn't have any money to actually do the Christmas party. So me being perhaps, I know I'm the smartest man in the world, it's pretty obvious, but there are times where I don't feel very smart. Me being, perhaps not very bright, I said, well, hell, instead of throwing a Christmas party just for our staff, let's throw a party for like 500 people. And we bartered the hell out of this thing. We gave away free services to everything. We got a venue. We got a band. We actually had 2 great bands that were Zipcar customers at the time. So they played for free. We got, pretty much the whole party was free. And we had every customer of ours at the time show up to this event and do something really cool. Because, when you do things with your customers and you actually ask people to support, it's pretty amazing what can happen. And barter is pretty powerful. Do interesting things with dead inventory. You guys wouldn't have seen this because it was a pretty localized thing, but there's a real estate website in Toronto that was just launching, and they were looking for a big stunt to do around their launch. And one of the things they did was they sold the Rogers Center, which is where the Toronto Blue Jays baseball club plays. And there was a real estate sign, and it was listed, and it was on TV and the whole deal. And that was kind of interesting, but one of the things that was really interesting was they made a deal with the baseball club, and they got all the outfield seats, and they did it for free because, excuse me, and when I say they, I really mean me, but that's another story for another day. But dead inventory is pretty amazing because it's dead inventory for a reason. This is stuff that people can't sell. So when you actually, if you're trying to do stuff for no budget, figure out what you can actually negotiate with, and dead inventory is pretty powerful because it usually brings people in and they buy stuff after. Do interesting things with emotions. So FreshBooks about, 3-4 months ago was presenting at the PayPal, what was the name of the conference? PayPal Innovate, thank you. And we, again, just like the story of the How Design Conference, we don't have a trade show booth to use, so we needed something. Does anyone recognize what that is? That's right. We had an exact replica of the Bluth banana stand made from Arrested Development. The reason this played with emotions was for a couple reasons. If anybody was a fan of Arrested Development, they're going to think that's very cool and they're going to get excited. And we gave out over 1,000 bananas, all with a FreshBooks sticker on them. If they didn't recognize the banana stand, it goes back to making people scratch their heads. They're like, why are these people who are an invoicing company giving out bananas? Why do they have a banana stand? It works on so many levels. It's brilliant. And the best part was that, I don't know. I'm going to share that later. Do interesting with customers. I've said this like 4 times already. I cannot stress enough. Everything you guys do should involve your customers. It's a way you create loyalty. It's a way you create conversations, and it's a way you make people feel a part of a community. So the woman in the picture there is a woman named Krista Nair. She's a very good friend of mine. She's very supportive, and it's someone I bounce ideas off all the time. When it came time to put together this newspaper, which was a stunt for a company, there was no one else that should go in there except for her because she used the product, she helped us develop the ideas, and it was a way to say thank you. Always include your customers in the interesting things you do. So everything you do with or without a budget should be about and include your customers. I could say that 10 more times and it wouldn't be enough because it's really the way you get things done. Including your customers is the same as fighting for them. So I already explained to you the Zipcar and the baseball card story. This is a way you show your customers that you actually care about them. And they're more than just customers. They're more than just people who are sending you money every month. This picture here with the apple pie doesn't really fit in this slide, but I'm going to tell you the story anyways. Again, a little while ago, and by a little while ago it means I have no idea when we did this. We created a thing called Facebook Tupperware parties. So everyone understands the concept of Tupperware parties? So basically, we asked our customers to host a Tupperware party. We sent them a piece of Tupperware. It had all sorts of brochures and offers and all sorts of things. And if anybody actually invited 5 or 6 friends of theirs over to their house, we would send them a check to cover for $25 to cover like pies and treats and stuff like that. And the interesting about it is it happened quite often. And if you do not have a real connection with your customers, there's no way anyone would agree to do this stuff. This stuff is just so important because I've already sort of touched this. But anyways, when you're promoting your customers, you're creating a passionate sales force. This is really important, and I really like this part. I like it all, but I like this part too. The more connected you are with your customers, the more you'll know what they want, and the more you'll try not to disappoint them. And that's really an important key part, because disappointing your customers is never a good thing. This is really, you guys can tell this is the boring part of the presentation. I guarantee you, it's almost getting back to interesting stuff. But this is also kind of important. These types of activities will help build your brand, start lots of conversations. When it's all said and done, these are the only things a competitor can't steal. Your relationships with your customers. If you look at Groupon, Groupon is the internet darling right now. I'm not making this number up. Usually every number I talk about is completely made up, but somebody actually told me this yesterday, and it's supposedly true. There's 211 Groupon clones. But so anyone can give out coupons, anyone can send you offers in the mail, but no one can replicate the Groupon brand because they have a very irreverent brand and they made an early connection with people. These are the sort of things that people really connect with, and this is a differentiator as much as your product is. So do interesting things by keeping your eyes open. I say this all the time to people. They just assume I'm lazy, but I spend an hour a day daydreaming. I look for opportunities. I look for ways I can help other people. I send tons of emails. Like in my hour daydream time, I'll send email introductions to people and just say, I think you should know this person. I will send unsolicited advice to people that's not always appreciated. I will send ideas to people that are not always appreciated. But it's really important to just keep your eyes open and look for anything. And I showed you the slide of me being on a Times Square billboard. That came from just keeping my eyes open, because opportunities are literally anywhere and everywhere. So these are 2 of my favorite stories that I'm going to share with you guys. These are completely low dollar, high impact kind of things. And the only thing it takes to do stuff like this is to be a little fearless. So I told you already about the cereal contest. These are 2 of my other 2 favorite contests that we've done at FreshBooks. So we did win Saul's birthday present. And basically the whole idea behind Win Saul's birthday presents, my parents give horrible birthday presents, like absolutely horrible birthday presents. So I told a story through the FreshBooks newsletter that goes out to like 500,000 people. And I basically said, I'm not even going to open my present this year. If anybody wants my present, I will send you a still wrapped present. All you have to do is answer this trivia question. And we got tons and tons of people who wanted my present. So because so many people were interested in it, we actually went to Walmart and bought like 50 more of like zipper ties and Playboy cologne and all sorts of like really crappy stuff. And we mailed out all these presents. And again, this goes back to the whole thing. You don't have to spend a lot of money and it really incentivize people with big dollar things. So I know we're in the Microsoft store. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this product, but that's an iPhone. It's called pandering. But so I had one of the early iPhones, and when the new ones came out, I got a new one. It was way before the Win 7 phone, because I would have got that for sure. But one of the things I did, I had this old phone. I had nothing to do with it. I wasn't going to throw it out because apparently it's bad for the environment. So we had a contest, Win Saul's phone. And because it was a previous generation, I didn't really expect anybody to get excited about winning an old phone. But it's how it's taking the next step. I keep talking about taking the next step. The story behind the phone was you were going to get my phone in a Ziploc bag. It was going to have 2 of my thumbprints on the glass, and you weren't actually supposed to like activate the phone or use anything. You're supposed to keep the phone on you in case you accidentally killed somebody. You put the phone next to the dead body, and I'll buy you like 48 hours because the police will just assume it's me because my thumbprints are at the crime scene. anytime you can create a story about what you do, people connect to it better. And I still get people come up to me and they say they remember the phone bit because it's all about, you know, creating stories and doing interesting things. And again, we've got this slide. So anyone remember that Times Square slide? Remember when I told you that was going to be the last slide of the day? Well, I sort of lied. There's still like another 20 minutes, but this is a good place to sort of fit it. So looking for opportunities are everywhere, and it's so important to keep your eyes open. I don't know if it's just the way my brain works or if there's something else, but I notice stuff everywhere I go. So I spent a lot of time in New York, and I spent a lot of time in Times Square. I know it's supposedly like a horrible place, and anytime I tell like locals that I love Times Square, they like all get angry with me. But I'll be at Times Square 2 in the morning with my laptop and answering email, because Times Square for me, for some reason, it's magical because it's like the only place in the world. You could be there 2 in the afternoon and 2 in the morning, and it's lit exactly the same. Sitting in Times Square staring at this billboard for American Eagle, and I'm seeing all these angry tourists who don't want to be on this board. And I couldn't understand. Like, I thought it was the worst ad campaign ever. Like, you know, people with like winter coats and shopping bags. So I went into the store and I asked them what the deal with that is. And they're like, oh, you just had to buy something. We put you up on the screen. And I'm like, anything? They're like, yeah. So at the time I was working with another company called Thora. And I waited 6 months until I had something branded that I could go up on this board. And every time I was in town, I kept going into the store. I'm like, has anyone ever gone up and like held a sign for a company? Like, no one's ever done it. It's always just angry tourists. So so I went in, I bought a $3 keychain, and I was up on the Times Square billboard. And you know, I don't know, I assumed to buy a billboard, it's pretty expensive, but I got on for $3. And I guarantee like 10 people probably saw this in Times Square. So it's not like I, you know, changed the world or anything, but I had the picture, and I was able to then throw this online and get it to spread, and people were like, holy mackerel, he's on Times Square. And that picture got over 1,000 views in various different places. And 1,000 views may not be a lot, but you know, it's still something. So it's what you do with these things after. It's where you find these things and how you reposition them. Okay, I'm almost done. So in closing, and I always say in closing because my mom wanted me to be a lawyer instead of doing what I'm doing, I'm going to whip through these, just kind of a recap. Take a stand on something your customer base and you believe in to create positive attention with a purpose. It's really important that you believe in this stuff as well. Barter or beg like you're a virgin on prom night if you're trying to get stuff done for free. Dead inventory is called dead inventory for a reason. Everything you do should be about and include your customers. Keep your eyes open for opportunities to use other people's stuff to start conversations. Lastly, and for real this time maybe, this is really important. If you guys actually remember nothing from this presentation, remember the 4 E's. This is kind of the basis of everything I do. Execute on extraordinary experiences every day. And while all 4 are crazy important, the 2 that I think are most important are execute and every day, and extraordinary, and experiences. Now they're all important. But you really have to do this stuff every day. You have to make it part of your life. It can't be a campaign. And you really have to execute. There's a lot of people who just talk. Doing a lot of the stuff I do are really small and not these huge endeavors, but they sometimes have a great impact. They sometimes don't. And the reason I say they don't is, and this is my absolute favorite thing, best thing about word-of-mouth campaigns are if they fail, usually means no one knows about them. That's why I can stand up here and say, I am a genius, because you guys don't know about all the ideas that never took off or never got traction, and that's the beautiful thing about word of mouth. If you want to give something away for free, give it away for free. Never make your customers work for it. And here, what exactly am I calling this new way to spread messages to people with or without a budget? Anyone have a guess? It's the aristocrats. For the few people in the room that get that, that is a funny joke. Oh, and finally, if you remember nothing else from this talk, I hope it's remember that the girls find me irresistible. So any questions? I feel sorry for the people who are watching this on the stream because they hear me breathing in this thing. It's like Darth Vader.
What kind of cereal did you send?
What kind of cereal did we send? We sent We just bought those variety packs, the small individual boxes. So like, I don't know, whatever Post brand, Kellogg's, I don't even know. But funny story, maybe not, but I bought all this cereal, and the day before I was leaving on a trip, so I usually pack just carry-on. I had to take this huge suitcase, and it was just filled with like 2 days worth of clothes and 100 boxes of cereal, and it was the one time I've ever had my luggage opened. And for some reason, it would have been way better if, like, my luggage, it would have been easier to explain if it was filled with sex toys or something. For just all this cereal and me being overweight, there was nowhere I could go with it. So it was embarrassing. But yes.
What did you do with all the cereal?
Oh, we mailed it out to everybody. Anybody who won the contest, we sent them the cereal. Mm. I'm going to assume by your silence that this was so direct and self-explanatory.
So you're a very lively personality, so that probably helps your company. What about companies who don't have a spokesperson like you? How is it much harder to build that kind of enthusiasm? Because people probably relate to you and want your gifts and stuff like that.
I don't think it's that difficult. I always tell people to never put someone in a position that's going to make them feel uncomfortable. That's actually a really important thing in any role, because if you put someone who's, probably introverted or just isn't going to succeed, anytime you put someone in a position where they're not going to succeed, it's not going to help your company. It's not going to help the person. That being said, you don't need to be gregarious or that out there to do this kind of stuff. Like maybe that person doesn't go out and talk about it, but they can certainly execute on these ideas and dream up the ideas. Like, a lot of the stuff I do, it's not that crazy or involved or thing. It's maybe imaginative, but and the secret to all this stuff is just repetitiveness. Like literally do 100 things a month. And if 20 of them work, I do those 20 again and come up with 40 more ideas. It's like literally just keep throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what works. But if the person isn't outgoing or comfortable speaking, maybe you don't do that end of it. But the whole ideas and the concepts anyone can do.
Do you have a way to measure the effectiveness of the things that you're doing? I mean, they all sound very cool, and I can see how they would get people to know about FreshBooks, which is, like you said, it's a sort of fairly dry topic, invoicing. But how do you, as a marketing person, sit down and say, oh, this one really worked for us and this one wasn't so good?
Well, if you guys notice my lovely colleague Sarah here, she's responsible for figuring out if these things work or not. That's her job. But no, like, we use promo codes. We use unique, discount codes, all sorts of stuff. One of the things we really live and die with, at least the two of us, and what we do is when people sign up at FreshBooks, there's a box that says, how did you hear about us? As far as I'm concerned, that's the only metric I really care about. I want to know, if any of our initiatives, whether I did it or someone else did it, if it's having any effect. But the stuff we do, promo codes, how did you hear about us? It's something as simple as, watching the analytics based on geography. If we're in Portland or we're in Seattle or we're anywhere, I want to know if, any of the visits are going up, if people are signing up from where we are. So there are, little things we do, but, a lot of it is, well, I shouldn't say a lot of it. It's half intuition, half actual real, analytics and metrics and things like that.
You mentioned that conflict was a tool that was available, but wasn't something that you used in your toolbox. For the sake of completeness, what does that look like? That's hard for me to.
So conflict would be we try to just keep things light. Conflict would probably be like going head to head against a competitor and saying, you guys don't do this as well as we do, or we're better than you. We tend to kind of live in a bubble and say, this is what we do. There's other people out there, but we're this and this is what we do. So we we don't really introduce like a ton of conflict in comparison, and we don't go out pointing fingers and throwing rocks and things like that. So a lot of people will, just sort of be bullies in their marketing, and that's like one tactic. We just stay away from that. It's not anything we're interested in. Much rather just do fun stuff, keep it light, keep it sort of airy, and it's sort of hard to spread conflict. It's a great way to get attention, but if you're doing something that could be perceived as angry or depending on how it's viewed, it'll get spread in an angry light. And everybody knows broken telephone. So as messages spread, they get diluted or changed. So if you keep it pretty simple and light, if it changes from like sunshine to a lollipop, that's okay. But if it changes to like hey, we're better than you, to hey, we hate your guts, that's like something that you can't really control. So if you just kind of keep it light, it just seems to work better. No problem.
You've told us about some fantastic initiatives. What is your most frustrating and failed campaign, and why?
Well, I've never had a failure in my life, so I don't know, as stupid as it sounds, and I'm going to sound like really arrogant when I say this, if something doesn't work, just completely wipe it away, and I don't harp on it, and I literally forget about it. I don't think you can learn anything from a failure. I know failure is this, like, everyone in startup community is like, oh, fail faster, do all that stuff. I think failure is, like, you should never romanticize failure. Just put it away. As soon as you accept failure, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and then it becomes like everything. Just like my story about toddlers and tiaras. I get very obsessive compulsive about stuff. So I just push it away. Don't bother with it. Stuff that didn't work, stuff that I thought would really work, but no failures. Sorry if that doesn't answer your question, but okay, well, I'm going to say thank you very much to you guys. Spending you guys, and just thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you taking the time, Saul. We want to give just a quick thank you. Appreciate your brilliant word of mouth marketing. I really love that. Be a little fearless. Are we all going to agree to be a little fearless? Let's do that. And we would love to let you know that the deck will also be available on SlideShare, on our SlideShare. And we also would like to thank Microsoft Store and Chad Mack, the community development manager, for hosting us here. It's fantastic. And again, keep in mind his offer to take advantage of this great space for the community. So let's have a round of applause for the Microsoft Store. Thank you so much. That's we appreciate that. And we absolutely want to thank our sponsors, Microsoft Office, Social Team. Where are you, Kelby? Kelby and Stephen Burry. Where are you guys? Oh, they had to take off. Okay, well, we do want to thank them so much for their sponsorship, as well as Erica Wadley, Microsoft Services Broadcast Network. They're so generous in their sponsorship, and we just couldn't do this without the kind of community support. So let's thank them again with a round of applause. We would also like to thank the Social Media Breakfast Board. If you are here, will you please stand? Those who are involved, it takes a village to do this. Please stand. All right, appreciate that. I would like to call out a couple of folks. Colin over here in the corner, Colin Christensen with Tenacious Ventures. He does a great job with the live streaming, and we're so thankful that we have a great audience also joining us on the live stream, as we always do. So we appreciate your tuning in. And I just need to call out also Sylvia Roll. Will you stand up there? She is very much behind the scenes, but a very important part with the logistics. And Joanne Jen, I also wanted to call out Joanne for doing such a great job with our comms. So thank you very much. Remember, you will be able to get a friends and family discount. Let me find the card. So this is a very valuable card. You can get one as you're walking out from either side. And Chad also has a few announcements he can make. And again, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks again. By the way, Saul, I thought that was a spectacular presentation. I was multitasking and working, but listening and fascinated, so great job. So as I promised, though, before you go, and I realize you have busy mornings and you're off to work, and there's at the front of the store, you'll see a gentleman in blue here. He's waving to you. And then gentleman in red, that's Rohit over there. They have Windows 7 phones, and they have the ability to plug them into our display wall and then do demonstrations of them on the display wall. If you're interested as you walk out, check in with them, and they'll show you some of the neat capabilities of the phone. I think it's pretty intriguing just to see the phone up on the wall. From a retail perspective, the ability to demonstrate 1 to 20 as opposed to 1 to 1 when, you know, how you used to. Let's say you're at CES on the floor and you're holding a phone, or but this has just kind of changed the way that we interact with our customers, and it's pretty impressive stuff. So if you're interested from a retail perspective, check that out, or if you're just interested in seeing, say, Office on the phone, they can show you some of those features too. So that's it from my perspective. I'll give it back to you, and thanks again for coming in.
Thank you. We just we had one more quick announcement. We've got a little announcement here from James.
Hi there, I'm James Workman. We have an environmental professional training company we just moved to Issaquah from Seattle, and we have a position open. We're looking for an awesome social media person who could help us grow in many, many ways in the company. I want to call it a startup. It's been around 10 years, but if you know somebody or if you're interested yourself, I have a card. Come see me. Lots of talent in this room, or if you know somebody, let me know. We'd like to find it from within the talent here. It would be wonderful. Thank you.
Enjoy your morning. And for those of you going to Social Media Club tonight, this is a great day. Bookending social media. Enjoy your day.